Evening, everyone. Dr. Morse, Injury Experts. Let's talk about the week heading up to week 12. Today is Tuesday night. We're setting waiver wires, but we are also planning for the week. Now, practice hasn't started yet. We have a game on Thursday night between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cleveland Browns, and there are a fair share of teams on a bye. We have Atlanta, Buffalo, Cincinnati, Jacksonville, New Orleans, and the Jets. So a lot of guys on bye. There's no teams on bye next week, and then week 14 has the final set of byes. So some leagues like Scott Fishbowl actually start the playoffs this week. Most of them wait usually to week 14 or 13 or 14, depending on how it's structured. So these weeks are of vital importance. Last week, you have something like George Kittle's situation where you think he was going to play. He ends up not playing, and he got you 0 points. Let's talk about the quarterbacks, and then we'll go into running backs, wide receivers, and then tight ends. I'll talk about a combination of the new injuries and a couple guys that I'm monitoring before we have an idea. I'll be able to give you a rough gauge of who's going to play and who's not going to play heading into week 12. So the only new quarterback injury is Brock Purdy. Right throwing shoulder soreness. It came up yesterday. Don't have any specifics. Juwan Jennings has really been his go-to. Deebo Samuel has not looked very good. Christian McCaffrey looked obviously really good. But in general, those are his main two guys right now. George Kittle probably going to be back this week. He had that re-injury to his hamstring strain. It was just too risky for him to play. And as a result, they weren't able to pull it off. Kirk Cousins on a bye. Mahomes will be fine. Darnold and Stroud were fine. Keep an eye out on Trevor Lawrence as they come out of the bye next week to see if he's able to return. But right now, I don't expect to hear a whole lot of information. Heading over to running backs. Tyjae Spears is dealing with a new hamstring strain. He had been dealing with issues previously, so we don't know if this is a re-injury. This is a new injury. We'll see how it plays out. Raheem Mostert did suffer a hip injury. Could be a hip flexor, could be a hip pointer, could be a couple different things. He was able to come back into the game, but he didn't do a whole lot. And Davon Achane looks really good. Mostert kind of showing his age here a little bit. So we'll have to see how this plays out. I'm assuming he's going to probably play against the New England Patriots, but he may, not practice a whole lot this week. Both of the Vegas running backs are injured. Zamir White with a quad injury and Alexander Mattison with an ankle injury. Now, I don't have any real specific updates. I didn't watch this game. It didn't look particularly exciting to me. But Zamir White with a quad injury, this could be a re-injury. This could be a bruise, which is not overly concerning, or it could be a strain. If this is a strain, that's what T. Higgins had, and he is not going to play. If this is a bruise, probably not a big deal. Alexander Mattison could be an ankle injury. I did not see the specifics of it. So if it's a mild lateral, not a big deal. If it's more of a moderate or a high ankle, obviously he's unlikely to play. We should have a really good idea tomorrow. If he's a limited practice or a full practice, then he's fine. If he's a do not practice, then we have to kind of take a little bit of a deeper dive. We're looking at Amir Abdullah, and we're looking at Dylan Lanube, however you pronounce it, the rookie. So, but not someone I'm going to go out of my way to go after unless you're in a super deep league. Miles Sanders probably not going to play this week with a moderate ankle injury, but it sounds like he avoided the fracture. Chuba Hubbard will be fine with his minor knee injury, and Jonathan Brooks will make his debut in Week 12, but I would not be surprised if they limited his snaps and touches. So just because he's on the field doesn't mean he's going to be scoring a lot of points for you, although it is obviously possible. Najee Harris on a short week will be okay, still banged up. Tank Bigsby has a bye, but he was dealing with an ankle injury. We'll see if this is enough to potentially keep him out when he comes back, or if they were just being smart with him. Isiah Pacheco is likely to play in Week 12. I would not be surprised if they ramped him up slowly and kind of split the backfield between him and Kareem Hunt. But I do think the days of Kareem Hunt's bell cow status are over, and so we'll have to see how this plays out. But I'm treating Pacheco basically as a flex and Hunt as kind of running back two than both running back twos or something like that. I'm not ready to smash Pacheco yet, although I love his talent. We don't know how they're going to use him. As far as Marshawn Lloyd coming off of multiple injuries, an ankle injury, a hamstring injury, and reportedly an appendectomy. So he's had a crazy couple, 3-4 weeks. In addition to his earlier season injury, Josh Jacobs basically looking at a bell cow right now. So I'm not really going to read much into this. If Marshawn Lloyd does something, he's more of a handcuff than anything. Brian Robinson Jr. looked pretty good last week, and it'll only get better. No concerns about McCaffrey so far, getting the volume, looking efficient. Did not get into the end zone like we were hoping, and actually disappointed overall, in my opinion, compared to what I was expecting him. He didn't even hit the over on rushing. Jamaal Williams potentially could return with his groin. Dameon Pierce kind of irrelevant at this point for running backs. Heading over to wide receivers, there are a fair share number of talk about. Darnell Mooney with a hamstring injury coming off of that Achilles tweak. Was having an okay game. Thankfully, they're on a bye, so nothing really to worry about this week. We'll have to see how it plays out. But there's a chance he could miss week 13, depending on how severe this hamstring injury is. T. Higgins also on a bye, looked really good after he came back. I saw him hobbling a little bit, so hopefully he didn't have any setbacks with his quad. And he did take a big shot to the head in the last play of the game, or one of the last plays, so hopefully not in the concussion protocol, but we might not hear much about him. Elijah Moore on Thursday night is likely to play. He's limited back-to-back days so far with a shoulder injury, probably an AC sprain if I were to guess. Winston has been throwing like crazy, and all three have been able to sustain. Njoku is going to be dealing with a minor knee injury I'm not overly worried about. We saw Elijah Moore, we saw Jerry Jeudy look really good, and we even saw Cedric Tillman, who flashed and now is obviously competing with other guys. Puka Nacua had that probably chest injury. Could they evaluate him for a concussion? He's probably going to be fine, and maybe a little rib bruising, rib cartilage injury. Maybe just got lucky and lost his wind. Not particularly a big deal. Ladd McConkey is really starting to turn it on. Looks really good. Reminds me of like a smaller version of Cooper Kupp. Landed really hard on that shoulder, that AC sprain. Able to come back in and balled out. He's a tough dude. If you look at his injury history, it's crazy. I expect him to play through it. He's been really good. Brian Thomas Jr. on a bye, and Gabe Davis is done for the year with a knee injury that requires season-ending surgery. Nico Collins limited last night. Missed, a would-be touchdown. Still had 50-something yards, but for the most part, disappointed, in my opinion. But he should be better next week. Each week, the re-injury rate will be lower. It's probably at about 15% right now. Tyreek Hill just going to play through that wrist injury, and it is what it is. There's nothing we can do about it. Most of the other guys are on a bye that I'm monitoring. Olave is obviously probably done for the year. We don't know exactly. And in terms of Keon Coleman, he's on a bye. Maybe he's ready next week when he comes back. We'll have to see. Just depends on how bad his reported wrist fracture is. Mike Evans, I think there's a very good chance he returns in week 12. We have to be a little bit careful with him. Similar to Nico Collins, re-injury rates for grade 2 hammies are a little concerning. So keep an eye on this. I don't know if he's going to have a full complement of snaps, but he is a threat for a touchdown anytime he can get the ball, and he has a lot of yards to make up if he's going to make it another 1,000-yard season. So I would look at him as a wide receiver 2 with wide receiver 1 upside in week 12, assuming he plays. As I mentioned, Deebo Samuel's dealing with that rib injury and oblique injury. He just really struggled. He's more of a wide receiver 3 for me right now. It's hard to trust him. Amari Cooper had some incredible catches and should be even healthier coming out of the bye. And Adam Thielen probably going to make his return from his grade 2 hammy with a pretty high re-injury rate given his age, returning in week 12. As far as tight ends to finish strong, Jake Ferguson probably not going to be able to clear the concussion protocol given the game was last night and they have a quote-unquote short week. So I think it'd be a tough time. Hendershot, I believe is how it's pronounced, looked really good, got a ton of balls, and ended up, doing pretty well for fantasy. So that may be an option this week, having a rapport with Cooper Rush, who's going to get another start. But I think Trey Lance will get some packages. Foster Moreau's on a bye with his shoulder injury. Josh Oliver, not really fantasy relevant, but he's got an ankle injury. And David Njoku, as I mentioned earlier, mild knee injury. Could be a little meniscus, could be a little MCL, but I think he'll play through it. George Kittle should be back this week. Dalton Kincaid potentially could return after the bye with his PCL sprain. LaPorta could play this week. It just depends on how aggressive they want to be with his AC sprain. And then Noah Fant, we'll have to see if he's able to get back. These grade 2 groin strains do take weeks, so potentially could be dealing with that. Do me a favor and check out this advertisement for my new product called All Natural Relief, which is basically like a all-natural version of ibuprofen.
As an athlete, you know the importance of staying at the top of your game. But what happens when soreness and inflammation slow you down? Traditional anti-inflammatories like ibuprofen and Aleve can have unwanted side effects. So why not choose a natural alternative? Introducing our all-natural anti-inflammatory supplement called All Natural Relief, packed with 12 powerful plant extracts designed to support your performance and recovery.
I switched to this natural supplement, and my recovery time has improved dramatically.
I love knowing I'm supporting my body without harsh chemicals. It's a game changer.
Stay strong, stay healthy, and perform at your best with our all-natural anti-inflammatory formula. Order now and elevate your game the natural way. Visit Amazon or at www.allnaturalrelief.net today.
And we will see you tomorrow night or maybe Thursday for a kind of a wrap-up as we head into Week 12 after having a lot more information about injuries. Thank you for tuning in. Good luck this week.